Hi everyone, this is Donald from urbansketchy.com, and today I'm going to be talking you through a tutorial for a wibbly wobbly multicoloured urban sketch. This is the real life photograph. If you would like to download it and have a go at sketching this yourself, you can do so. I'm going to be sketching this scene using two types of marker pen, and I'll talk you through all of that and the other equipment that I use and how I go about constructing the image. Okay, let's get sketching. Okay, so I'm starting off with kind of rough outline in pencil. I'm using a Kuru Toga pencil. It's a self-rotating mechanical pencil, but you can use any pencil you like. And the pad I'm drawing on is a Frisk Bristol board pad. It's very smooth, it's really nice for drawing on. But you can use any sketchbook or pad that you have. And I'll only be using the marker pens for this one, so you don't need a watercolour pad, it can be any sketchbook. And so I just like to use the pencil and kind of roughly plot where things are going to be, just so I know that I'm going to fit everything in the page. But it's really quick, matter a couple of minutes. And then I'm jumping into the pen. So I'm using a Pigma Micron PN drawing pen. So this is not one of their fine liners, this is their drawing pen, which is marked with the letters PN. It's got a plastic tip and it's really nice for drawing on. It's very kind of smooth and flowy on paper like this, or indeed any sketchbook. It's a really nice pen to draw with. It took me ages to find this pen actually. I've tried all sorts of fine liners, and I do use fine liners as well, but more often than not I come back to this pen because it's really nice for drawing. And so I'm basically just going around with the outline of the building, haphazardly adding in some details. I didn't draw this one brilliantly, I have to say, but I vowed when I started making these videos that no matter how these sketches turned out, I'm going to post them anyway, because we can all learn from our mistakes. I don't know, I learned a few things from this about what not to do, so which is often is just as useful, and I'm not overly concerned with the end result when I do sketches. I'm just doing it for the fun of it, and that's great. That's the main reason I'm doing this. If I get it wrong, I get it wrong. I think one of the benefits of drawing a kind of such an extremely wibbly wobbly style is that when you do make mistakes, you probably don't notice them as much anyway, because I mean I see them but maybe other people won't, just because they're all kind of, it's all over the place anyway, so you're like, well, the entire picture looks like a mistake to me. And I made the drain pipes incredibly wonky and wobbly in this one. I'm not entirely sure why I went that far, but it's just sometimes you don't know what your brain and your hand are going to do. Kind of roughly drawn out the main part of the building on the left side, so I then moved on to the kind of row of houses on the right, the ones that are going to be all in colour. I'm just trying to figure out where windows go and trying to connect all the buildings together. I did quite enjoy drawing this one, even though I kind of knew this is not going to be great, this is going to be pretty average. But as I say, it's not about the end result. And so now I'm just kind of going in with window detail, putting in some window ledges, window sills inside, and then shortly after I'll go back in and put in the window panes themselves. This was actually one of the faster sketches I've ever done. I think sometimes I sit for hours doing sketches, and by the time you're finished you're absolutely exhausted, but you wonder why you bothered starting. But this one actually came together quite quickly. I think it's because there's nothing really in the foreground, so it's not that complicated. Sometimes I'm picking scenes that have got so much in the foreground and you've got to work out all the time where things go in front of other things, but there was nothing like that. So now just drawing in the slats of the buildings on the right hand side. I quite like the fact that some of these buildings have the slats going upright and then some are going sideways, so it created a nice kind of contrast between them, helped them stand out and separate each building from each other. So you're now in with the windows, the glass panes. I'm trying to do the perspective right, but I got it wrong in a couple of places, so I tend to follow the rule that windows that are on the bottom layer, so it's sort of eye level, I do the sort of window ledges at the bottom, and then the ones that are higher up, I do the window ledges at the top. They're not ledges, you know, kind of inserts where the glass would be. So yeah, that was the extent of my foreground interest in this sketch. 2 lines. I did no more than that, and it looks okay, looks fine. A couple more windows in the building in the background, just to add a bit of depth to the picture. And a little toy car. There's always seems to be a toy car popping up in my pictures. So that's the ink stage done. I'm just erasing the pencil lines now. I'm using a Faber-Castell putty eraser. These are great, much better than the sort of normal erasers you can rub out without kind of damaging the paper, which is always helpful. So now I'm on to the marker stage. This is going to be a 2-stage process. The building on the left, I'm using Faber-Castell cold grey soft brush markers of different shades, and then on the right hand side for the colourful part of the building I'm going to use Tombow markers. So what I do at this stage is I'm basically just going around every section of the buildings, picking out anything that needs to be shades of grey. I go around with the lightest shade first, so this is cold grey 1 in the Faber-Castell set. And so these pens come in a pack of 8. You can buy them individually, but if you just want to try them out, you're better off buying them in a packet first. So you get a pack of 8. There's 4 cold grey and 4 warm grey. I tend to just use the cold grey most of the time. So these are India ink, and they're permanent, they're waterproof, they're light fast, and they have the brush tip is so soft, just in the soft brush tips. They have 2 types of brush tips. There's the firmer tips and the soft brush tips. So these are the soft brush, and they're a bit like using a tiny paintbrush. They're really smooth and easy to draw with, and I love using them. So this is what I use for most of my sketches. So that's the cold grey 1 stage finished for now. So I'm now going in with the inside of the building, turning the lights off. So I use the darkest of the cold grey in the set. So this is the cold grey 6, and this is the one I always use to turn the lights off in the windows. So this is not black, it's just a very dark grey. And immediately it makes, I don't know what happens, but it makes the building feel alive, just filling in the detail of the windows, turning the lights off. Suddenly it really starts to pop. And then I go in with the cold grey 3, which is the second lightest of the cold greys in the set, and just going around all the ledges of the windows, and then drain pipes and any markings and details that I've drawn on the building, just trying to make things pop and give everything more contrast. And this Frisk Bristol board paper I'm using is so bright white that when you start putting the really darker shades of grey on, it creates such fantastic contrast. But as I say, you can sketch these pens on any kind of sketchbook at all, they'll look great. So now on to the colourful stage. I'm using Tombow markers for this. These are water-based inks, so they're not permanent unlike the Faber-Castell, but they are very, very vibrant in colour, as you will see. And the brush tips are much bigger. So I'm starting with the blue building, and I made a bit of a mess at this. at this stage with the blue building that got a bit streaky. I was using the wrong technique, and I do know how to do it. I do know how to avoid streaks most of the time. I've been practicing this for quite a long time now. But yeah, I went in the wrong way. So the reason I caused the streaks was because I started going up and down, and the ink was drying before the next bit was added on, and that's what causes the streaks. So as you'll see after this, when I'm drawing, when I turn around the paper, it's because if you sketch using shorter brush strokes and keep the ink moving, then before it dries, if you've covered the next bit, if you see what I mean, then that will help. So you'll see with the green section it's much less streaky because now I'm going constantly in short directions. I'm not going lengthways, I'm going widthways, but because it's so short a direction, the ink is able to keep flowing before it's dry, and you get a much smoother effect. I actually still find the Faber-Castell brush pens easier for avoiding streakiness than I do the Tombows, but I'm less practiced with using the Tombows, and the brush tips are different. They're much bigger and slightly firmer as well. But they are fantastic because they're so vibrant. You could easily do this with watercolour as well. It would create the same effect. You wouldn't even need to do any colour mixing, just take it straight from the palette. I just tried this with marker pens because I had them. I don't use these Tombows very often, but I bought them ages ago and I thought I'm going to have to try and find ways to use them, so this was a good opportunity. So that was the end of the colour section. Just keep it really nice and simple. I'm not even thinking about shades, it's just shades in terms of light, it's just colouring in the blocks of buildings as they look in the picture, and then I felt like the roofs needed a bit more punch, a bit more contrast, so I've gone back in with the Cold Grey 3, just trying to make the outline of the roofs stand up. And then I tried something with adding a bit more shade to the slats to make them look a bit more like wooden slats, but it didn't really add anything. That happens, that's okay, that's just part of what sketching's about. You try things, sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't make any difference at all. And then last little details of grey on the wall and on the drain pipes, just to make the little clips of the drain pipes a bit more punchy. And that's about it. So yeah, as I say, it's not an amazing sketch. I just decided that I would do this because I wanted to try a bit more colour. I mostly work in shades of grey, so I wanted to see what I could do with colour, and it's okay, but I feel like I could do it a lot better if I did it again. Certainly the colour stage, it looks a bit kind of blotchy. It actually looks like something you would have done in watercolour, so I might as well just have used watercolour. But anyway, so it goes. If you would like to have a go at sketching this yourself, as I say, the download link is available in the description, and all the products that I've used as well if you'd like to have a go at any of these, and I'm sure you could do a much better job with this sketch than I did. Please consider subscribing if you would like to see more videos like this, and you can also head over to urbansketchy.com to see more of my sketches and other sketchy goodness. Thanks so much for watching, and I will see you in the next Urban Sketchy video.